Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hardcore Metal Detecting Radio Show. I'm Derek Askler. Mr. Craig Talley's on the line, and we'll be hosting the show tonight. And we're going to be talking, settings and sites. We were supposed to talk about that on Thursday. We're going to start off the show talking about it today, and different things we've run into and things to look for, and kind of take it from there. It's something you'll always keep on learning about because, there's there's so many different situations you get into, and well, heck, if you can narrow down the solution, so to speak, to the right one, well, you're going to have a lot more success in the field. So, our call-in number is 352-504-4170. If you want to chime in and give us, more variations on site reading or settings or what have you, and kind of go from there. But I did try again doing some arrowhead hunting and stuff like that today. I didn't even bring my metal detector, so I'm just gonna go and try this and give it a shot. I didn't expect much, but I did, just working with a probe for essentially it's an antenna wire on a stick, and then you probe the ground, and when you hit an arrowhead or something like that, obviously it makes a sound. It's not quite like a bottle would, like if you're a bottle hunting, but it definitely, you're hitting something solid. Of course, down here in Florida, we don't have a ton of rock, so it's not like up where you're at, Craig, as far as that goes. But I figured out kind of quick that, boy, it can be kind of monotonous or mind-blowing trying to probing the ground and just walking and probing and looking around to try to find a place, number one, where there's something at. I don't know if it was for me or not, Craig. Me and Craig talked a little bit before the show. I think I'm more the guy, like Craig is, carry the metal detect, and be looking on the ground for arrowheads, kind of like what Brandon did last week, finding a scraper and stuff. I think that's going to be my speed on it, unless what I ended up finding today was small piles of shards. Another hunter came in there, another arrowhead hunter, and had dug, some pits and did fill those ones in. But I saw next to him by trees and stuff, he had all these shards and stuff piled up. And I kind of thought to myself, well, if they're making the stuff here, obviously there was a lot of this. There was like 8 or 9 holes. I know he's finding something, or he wouldn't continue digging. And now he's worked his way down the road and run off of this property down, and he moved down to the road. So, and he's still digging. And he's bringing people in there. But I think there is stuff there. Man, it's like looking in a world of a bunch of shards trying to find something good. That's what he's doing. He's digging down and kind of finding stuff, but I don't know if I have the patience for it. I'll probably give it a shot, a couple more times and stuff. But I think my big thing is going to be walking fields and stuff that have been plowed and kind of looking like that. I seem to have better luck with that. I was kind of, I don't know, Craig, kind of left not really disappointed. I didn't really expect to find a whole lot of anything. I mean, I go in with low expectation. But I was like, man, I don't even know how to tackle this. Where do I start at? This sight reading and looking for the high points and where the water was going to be at, because it's right near what used to be probably a little lake. And I think I got that all figured out. I'm finding that the line of this stuff where, because of the other gentleman that was there hunting, I kind of fed up, where I saw the holes at, and then worked my way across the property, and it seems like they're in that general area. So I did dig up some rock and our Sumter County rock, limestone rock and stuff, but it's not the right material that they'd be making the arrowheads and tools and stuff like that out of. So, yeah, Craig, I tried, and I'm going to try again. I don't give up very easily, but it's just not fast enough pace for me, man. If I'm fine, even if it's a nail, I don't care. Metal detecting, at least it's something to dig. It's kind of like you're working your way forward. I just don't know how to make that leap into this. I guess I'll figure it out, but just kind of strange. So, at any rate, so it's not off the burner, so to speak. It's still on the burner. I'll probably bring my metal detector next time. Metal detect, if I start finding stuff, then I'll start, looking at it, the site, and trying to figure out places to start digging, for some, hopefully some arrowheads and stuff like that. But yeah, you just think metal detecting's methodical, Craig. That probe, probing the ground you think about it, every square inch you'd have to do, kind of to make sure you hit it, everything. I couldn't do that. I was kind of walking and hitting the ground in several places and moving on. It's probably not the right way to do it, but I had to have some.
Yeah, the guys down in Louisiana, they didn't do it that way. They just, dug pits.
Right.
And they knew they were, it was a long shot, but they were in that area, and they knew that they dug down. Most of the pits were 2 to 3 feet deep.
Right.
But, sometimes they'd find, 4 or 5, but other times they'd just find shards or not even that sometimes, and sometimes there'd be, several people digging pits side by side, and one guy in the middle would find a bunch of stuff and nobody on either side would.
Right.
All kinds of weird. Then there was other times where everybody was finding stuff,
This one is crazy, but you could see everywhere the guy dug at, even a little bit, like a little 1 foot by 1 foot area, because once you dig up the ground, it's real gray kind of sand, and then everything else is covered in leaves and palmettos and stuff like that, palmetto leaves and stuff. So it was pretty easy. I could walk through the woods and spot them from like maybe 10 feet away. Okay, somebody dug over here and filled it in. There's a boot print. There's whatever, and I'm seeing little piles of these shards. But like I tap on one, it falls apart way too easy. If anybody tried to make a point out of that, I don't think it would have been very durable. So I don't know what they were making out of the stuff, but they were obviously just sitting there napping like crazy, trying to get a good point or something. But yeah, it was all broken up. But usually you find them in there. They look like coral almost on the outside, real pitted and stuff. You could tell with stuff that hasn't been messed with much. So, but yeah, I was hitting stuff. I was digging rocks up, the limestone rocks, small ones and this and that, but nothing that even. There's a couple that kind of looked like they were scrapers, but they weren't. It was more me matrixing, looking at this stone, kind of like you would a picture. You start seeing other images and stuff when you're the mind makes up something essentially. So I was trying to be real careful on that. But I posted up that video while we're on it. That I don't know if you saw it or not. I just posted. It was pretty much a slideshow of that. I'm calling it a hand axe. Stone hand axe because it.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
I mean, they say it didn't have tooling on it, but I'm seeing maybe I'm not looking at the right stuff, but I'm seeing that was shaped, So that's what I think. I mean, like I said, if anything else, it's a really cool rock, but I told my wife, I said I think it is. So, I guess that's all that matters if it's treasure to me. So, but I thought it was pretty cool anyway. Excuse me. But yeah, I just haven't come across it. It's weird because that thing, it literally looks like just an odd shaped rock, but until you pick it up and start putting, kind of put it in your hand and stuff. There's just too many ways it fits in your hand. I only showed about half of them, I think. And there's like 14 different ways you can hold this stone axe. So, and it's quite sharp for the way the angle is on it. Everything seems to be at the same angle, so it wasn't like a razor. It was more like an axe, an axe blade, like you'd sharpen an axe blade, so to speak. But just sight reading is tough enough down here. I mean, it's tough everywhere, really. You deal with your situations up there the same way, Craig. I mean, you're looking for certain. I've pretty much resorted to ground contour, almost topographical kind of thing. Noticing if you can see far enough into the woods and stuff, see where the rises are and the dips and stuff like that, and try to work out where you think stuff was 100 years ago. So, that's kind of the way I walk into the sites anyways. I've been told too many times down here, well, there's never been anything out here, but you start finding tons of household, like hinges and doorknobs and window slides and all that kind of stuff. There was something there, some kind of building, or they dumped a bunch of stuff off in the middle of nowhere, so I do that. That's most of the way I do my sight reading, and trying to see definitely foliage like trees and stuff. There's some that I don't know if you run into it up there, and you go onto this property like in the middle of the woods or something, and you find a tree that's not really indigenous to your area, and it's the only one you've seen. in that wooded area. It's just kind of strange. Almost like somebody planted it there at some time. It's kind of like
well, I've seen that. You know, a lot of the house sites in Virginia, that you know, especially from the early times, see cedar trees. You know, sometimes even groves of them. Trees were real valuable. You know, back then you could trade them for, you know, other things. People, you know, wanted certain types of wood.
right.
You know, you had to have certain types of wood for a house, and you had, you know, different other kinds of woods for other things. But you know, it's I've seen like all of a sudden you go into the woods, you see like fruit trees.
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
That's a real common thing. You know,
Yeah.
you know that they didn't just get there by themselves. So.
I've been looking at stuff like even like
you know, and a lot of these trees will last for hundreds of years. I've been in, you know, woods that hadn't been touched in 150 years, and you know, it's amazing how big some of the trees were, and
even like
there wasn't a single one standing.
Even flowers too, Craig. You know, like little, you know, you see this bloom of a flower. I'm not, you know, just like a rose or something like that. Something that's not really you've never seen in the area before, and all of a sudden you're finding these little plants everywhere, like somebody had a little garden, or maybe the wife or whatever was, you know, planting stuff in a garden or something, had some kind of a flower garden. I mean, it's not probably that common. I mean, up there it may be, but you start finding these weird plants that they're not indigenous, really, in the area. That's another thing to look for. Stones,
the other thing,
stuff like that.
You'll see flowers, you know, like all kinds of wildflowers or daffodils, all kinds of things like that.
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
These houses. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just don't find them anywhere else in the area. It's just like, okay, somebody had to have planted there or thrown seed down or something for them to keep on going. I've even been, you know, like today I found, it was weird. It could have been done at any time. I'm not saying it's Indians doing it, but I found these 3 rocks. One of them was buried almost all the way, and there was like 2 rocks almost round sitting on top of each other. You know, had to have been placed like that, they wouldn't have been. And you know, the other one was in the ground, and it wasn't recent by any means because of I'm calling it like the peat moss, or the way the ground is down here in that wooded area. It's like about 2 or 3 inches of like root systems and stuff, like almost not grass, but it's like the little roots holding the soil together, like almost like a moss layer. And it was all the way up to almost the top of the bottom rock, which was probably about the size of a volleyball. You know, that size. It was just weird, finding weird stuff like that. And I don't know what that would represent. I don't know enough about Native American kind of signs and stuff like that. I know they would paint on rocks and carve on rocks, stuff like that. But not, you know, I don't know what that stands for. So kind of out of my element on it, you know, but all you can do is do some research and keep on, you know, plugging along at it. I mean, it's almost like bottle hunting. You know, some guys really like bottle hunting, and I dig them when I get into them, when I'm metal detecting and I hit a bottle, then I start excavating out. If I'm looking for other bottles there, I have a little probe and stuff, and I'll do that, but I don't outwardly go looking for bottles. I mean, well, Craig, me and you did it at Breastplate Hill. Kind of knocking bottles over, shards, stuff like that, looking for, you know, an intact bottle. I mean, that's about as far as I go with it. Some of these guys, you know, they'll dig, you know, these huge holes and where, you know, old privy was or house site was, or a bottle dump, whatever, and start just digging down there and finding all kinds of stuff. But I mean, you got to have it. It's just like you have to have a talent for it or a gift for it. You know, get your eyes trained to do it or whatever. Kind of like when people try metal detecting. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. You know, if they don't have a good baseline.
We were talking about it earlier. I have this bottled up my yard.
Yeah.
With all this junk. And, you know, when we first got here, we were looking around, you know, trying to see, maybe we could find a whole bottle, you know, and we did. We found maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5. And so then Mike said, well, there's got to be, you know, stuff that we can't see, you know, under the ground. So he started, you know, he got these 2 hand rakes, and we started, I actually was using a shovel, an entrenching shovel, and just kind of gently scraping, the ground with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a really nice one down about 6 inches deep. I was digging around the roots of the tree, right up against it.
Right.
And I figured that, maybe somebody, had bounced it against the tree, and then over the years it sank down in the ground right next to, with there. And then sure enough, I started hitting glass, and then I got this bottle out, and it was, I think it was from 1888, Mother's Friend,
Mm-hmm.
and probably had some kind of opium derivative or something.
Oh, baby.
It was for childbirth pains.
Yeah. Never mind.
Probably other things too.
Yeah.
Other pains.
Excuse me.
But but anyway, I after I dug about 11 bottles, it was just getting kind of boring to me. I don't know. Mike's been doing it, a couple times a week,
Mm-hmm.
when the weather's good, and he's got you wouldn't believe the collection he's got. He's got like, I think he's up to 57 bottles.
Yeah, he has a passion for it. I mean, he loves finding them, and that's cool. I mean, I just don't know if I share, in that part of it.
I got this wooden shelf-like thing that's just by itself, like you could stick up in a window or something. It's all wood, antique one, but it's pretty big. It's got 4 or 5 shelves on it. And he's got that thing like full of bottles. It's
Yeah.
impressive. When you look at it.
I think I could go out and hunt with somebody, somebody that knew what they were that does this bottle hunting or arrowhead hunting. I could do that if they kind of, and I wouldn't want any of the arrowheads or anything, just to learn, how to find this stuff, or how to, there's a process, and just like anything else, you got the way to do it and way not to do it, and sometimes it's hard to tell. At least you try. It saves you from trying the wrong thing. I mean, you're learning from somebody else. It's kind of, it makes it a little bit easier, more interesting, at least from my perspective, anyways. Because I'm kind of going in blind. I was going to invite Mark and Mike back out, but I'm like, man, I don't, I'm going to go out there and give it a shot first, because I hate having those guys drive over here and not be able to find anything. I know it doesn't matter to them. They have fun, but, I didn't want to drag, say, yeah, I really need your help, dude, and have them come out here and then not find anything at all. So, but I just really didn't find anything to speak of. You're not going to find treasure every time you go out either. I mean, I've been out plenty of times and not found anything metal detecting. So, but yeah, you try not to get your hopes up too. I was hoping to find at least a spot to start digging in. Some kind of a sign that made me say, okay, this is probably a good spot. And I just never came across that. I thought about digging right next to the other holes, but if one hole's...
Oh, it's like, mostly, I've never seen in any of the videos that I was watching where the guys were using probes. They were just digging pits and sifting.
Yeah, and maybe what I need to do, it's not in that area. There's so much doggone rock that it's almost like it was a place they went to make the stuff, but they didn't, it wasn't like a village or something like that, or a settlement.
I dig pits where those guys were digging down, where they got kicked out.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about, just continuing on right there.
Just dig random pits in there, and and it's like a lottery.
Yeah, yeah.
Mike just went to get his daily ticket.
Oh, is that?
It was $500 million.
Hey, dude, win it for me. We'll split it up. I just need a little bit. Yeah.
I told Mike, I said, if you do, I said, you got to buy some property,
Yeah.
Or
lease it or something. Lease some property so we can build it.
They will sell it and buy another one.
Yeah. I usually just make my donation to the lottery. That's about it. Once in a while, I'll get a $4 winner and jump up and down. But other than that, I'm just really a heck of a gambler. I really am, Craig. I'm just not much of a winner. I don't know how that worked. But.
Yeah, I don't know. It's when Virginia first started, finally got a lottery. I remember it was back in. It was in the 1990s, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Early 90s, probably. But I went and got, I said, well, I'll buy one ticket, and never bought one before, and so I got it, and it was for another free ticket. Turned that in and lost, and I never played again.
Boy, you got willpower. I call it.
I had a friend, Howard, that he won 1.7 million.
Dang.
But the guy was he was addicted to gambling.
Right.
He'd buy these sheets every, God, he'd pay $50 or more, a day.
No, that's not me.
His wife crazy. After he won the 1.7 million. He was so crazy. He said, he was so nervous. He didn't know what to do, and he was afraid he was going to blow it all and all this stuff. So he gave it to his wife and said, you
deal with it.
Of everything. So yeah. She paid off the mortgage on the house and got some stocks and stuff, so they didn't waste it. But you hear about so many people like, just,
lose everything.
Luxury car that depreciates, like crazy, And,
yep.
You got to, be. I told somebody if I won $500 million, first thing I'd do is get a lawyer and a financial guy to help me. Pay him. It'd be worth it just to have somebody to help you.
It can be tough. I've been had some money in the past, and it's real hard to kind of level yourself out sometimes. And you just gotta and people for somebody that worked their butt off all their life to win that much money, it's a culture shock, I'm sure. I mean,
over half the people that win the big lotteries lose it all.
Yeah,
and it's in taxes. They don't realize how the taxes kill them.
Oh yeah.
Mike said that the people that won the $500 million, first thing they do is they pay the government $250,000 of it, or $250 million of it.
Oh yeah.
So they lose 50% right off the bat. So you go, wait a minute, I didn't really win $500 million,
Yeah, I'm looking. See, that's my luck. Yeah, I'd win $1 million and bring home 100,000. That's my luck, But yeah, we kind of got off topic a little bit again, but it's stuff that's going on around and everything. But I want to talk a little bit about settings. And Craig, this is probably going to be more for the Bliss Tool guys out there, but it still probably holds true with a lot of some of the other detectors too, depending on how you can adjust them. But when I was hunting out there with Mike and Mark and stuff like that, I did move down the discrimination depth considerably. I think I mentioned that on a show or two before. I left the discrimination level the same. I'd always run around 4, between 3.5 and 4. And your discrimination depth is more of your main iron discriminator. But I turned it back to I want to say it was 6. I have to look at the detector. The one thing I noticed, and I have it on video too, where, I was going over targets, and I'd originally set it up like that because I was trying to just to see what stuff was. I was trying to really move the discrimination down. Just so even if it was iron, I was going to find the activity because I'd never hunted there before. So I was doing it. I had forgotten about it. But when I went over anything iron, and, it would give a good signal on the first swing, and it would be like a beep. But then when I went to go back over it like a couple times, and definitely when I speeded up the coil, it would throw that spit after the good beep. And it was like, it was good one way, and as soon as you came back, or like if you swung to the right and come back to the left, it would give that thing. And every single time it did that, I said, well, this is probably going to be iron. And sure enough, it was, or whatever. It was a piece of junk. But when I went over the musket balls, Seminole Indian bullet and stuff like that, they were all, we'll say, about 5-6 inches down. Some of them were shallower, all the bullets and everything, but they were not. They didn't have that break in them. It was just I'm listening to the beep. If it's a nice, clean, repeatable signal, I dig it. And when I was Xing it off, if it wasn't. It would sound like a good hit, and then as the coil went over it, it would throw that spit at the end of it. It was dead giveaway that it was iron. So it's a way for you to adjust your detector, but still, I would say dig it to get used to it. Dig the iron up a little bit, or check it, move your discriminator back to where you would normally have it, see what it does. But it's a way, the less discrimination you use, the more depth you get, because you're not restricted in the detector as much. And that goes for most of the machines out there. I mean, the more discrimination you use, the less accurate or the less depth you get. It's having to process, and if it can't process at 7 inches down, and you have too much discrimination, it may not, your detector may not work right, it may not be getting a depth or whatever. So it was just a little tidbit there. It's another thing I found out about the machine. And I noticed that Darren Groves used to do that in plowed fields. He turned his discrimination down considerably, down to like 7 or 7.5 on the discrimination depth, for that reason, because he could tell. And he would show it in his videos like that too. I think they're still up. And I didn't catch it the first time around, but normally I would hunt like 9, 8.5 or 9, so it was considerably lower for me to try it. But Craig, it's something you might, especially in a place where there's not a lot of targets, more like
Oh yeah, I do it all the time, and sometimes I'll get a good repeatable signal bleed through, the iron.
Right.
I've been trying all kinds of stuff. The latest success I've been having is using very little gain and very little sensitivity.
Right.
I was running like 2 or 3 on the sensitivity, and machine is just so quiet. It's just, it seems to, when I pump it up, it seems to amplify the clicks and stuff on the iron.
Right.
And I think I've gone back. There's a spot right by the side of my house here that probably the majority, it was like, probably 100-foot by about maybe 50-foot area that was, we've probably gotten 15 or 16 bullets out of there at least.
Right.
And, but I also got like that big stove piece down 2 feet deep. And then there's bullets that are only like I found a round ball on my birthday on Friday, 6 inches deep in there. And it only came back good if I tightened the swing real down to really narrow the swing.
Right.
But if I went harder over it, and I go, that just sounds too good.
Mm-hmm.
And I flipped the plug, and I ended up, the round ball was in the plug, and it was maybe 5 inches down. A 69 caliber one. It should have, the ground is just so many nails and junk. It's unbelievable. There was chinkers in the hole. I dug 7 or 8 nails, I think, underneath of it.
Well, essentially what it's doing, Craig, you brought up a good point too, because when you're swinging over something, if I start getting a lot of hits, like a lot of spitting and stuff, you saw when I worked your yard, I get even something that even remotely sounds like a solid hit on the first sweep across, I'm zeroing in because it's probably right in the middle of all the nails and stuff like that. Essentially, is what it was. The recovering delay was.
What I found it's the worst it could be is like a steel bottle cap.
Well, yeah.
You know how a steel bottle cap will, if you narrow down on it, it'll kind of, repeat.
Right. Yeah, it'll repeat.
But it doesn't exactly sound that great. But this signal was, it was sharp in the middle.
Right.
It was pinging it, but it if you swept over all the way over it in both directions, it just wouldn't, it didn't sound good at all. I wouldn't have dug it.
Right.
So, what I'm doing, it's getting harder and harder to find stuff, because we've been going out in the yards for 10 months, digging every time, just almost every day if the weather's okay. And
right.
I've gotten to where after I dig one good target, then I stop. Save it for
the next time. Make sure Mike's batteries are drained out. Don't hunt that side of the yard. I'm working on that.
Yeah.
Oh God. I was I've been working with this machine for a long time. There's so many ways to adjust it to adapt to what you want to hunt for and how you want to hunt. Makes it kind of nice. We were talking about sights and stuff like that. One of the mistakes that I used to make quite a bit, and I think like everybody does when it gets, really soggy outside, like rain and, or you're right after thaw, a lot of the guys go out there with their settings like they used all summer. And remember that water, it almost conducts. I think makes it conduct a lot better. That's why we have to turn our machines down to like 0 or 1 on the gain because all that water conducts the signal. Like it makes your machine's going to get a little deeper, but it can also make your machine unstable. Where you guys would normally hunt it, we'll say on a whites machine, if you're hunting like a RX gain of like 7 or 8 on one of the, well, it depends on what coil you have, but anyways, at 7 or 8, when you're in really humid soil or a lot of water in the soil, that number usually drops what was suggested RX gain. So it's to make the machine run stable. If you're running the same amount of power, yeah, you might dig some deeper targets, but you're going to dig some more junk too, I would think. I mean, that's what I remember doing a lot. But soil moisture has a lot to do, and EMI, how it affects the way we detect using our detectors with the settings. We have to adjust accordingly, or at least check your ground balance regularly. I mean, it can mess with you.
I tell you, lowering the sensitivity way down really helps.
Oh yeah.
When you're under power lines and stuff. And Mike was having trouble with this one part of the yard a couple months ago, and I said, turn the sensitivity down until it starts. I said, listen to it, and it'll start going away, and then you probably won't be able to eliminate it totally, but make it back it down enough where it starts clearing up the signal a little bit. So he did, and then he found a couple good things that day. But he said, "Man, that really works." And I said, most of the stuff, there's a lot of stuff that isn't even that deep,
Right.
And but I'm finding out that after I keep, every time I open a hole, I keep the pinpointer in there getting every single nail that I can hear out.
Right.
And I've actually gotten good things out that I didn't hear.
Oh yeah.
Like I've gotten a couple pistol balls, where just pulled them out of the hole. That I didn't hear. They were so deep. But and then I'll go back over these areas. I've dug. I can almost tell now exactly. When I go over a steel bottle cap, I can almost call it now.
Right. There is a definite difference.
Similar. And the ones we have in the yard are just total rust. I mean, it's just unbelievable. They're ready to fall apart.
With our machine, the rust can mess with it too, and other metal detectors also. You get that rusty nail that literally will fall apart in your hand. Well, it starts breaking up, making that halo. And man, I tell you, with our machine, we can tell when we're going over that. It makes the weirdest doggone sound. It's like a really elongated beep. It's a dead giveaway for about a year. I fought with trying to figure out what the noise was, the sound. And that's when I made the mystery signal solved video. It turned out to be that really corroded, rusty nail that would just fall apart in your hand, and the pinpointer wouldn't even pinpoint it, but the blister would pick it up. So I thought I was going out of my mind. I couldn't find it with the pinpointer. I started doing the old school grab a handful of dirt, and finally came across it. But I'd had several of those instances in that particular property. It's like a couple 100 acres. The area I was hunting, I just couldn't figure out what it was. This machine it made a weird noise. It was repeatable that way. But I finally figured out what it was. It was essentially old rusted metal that's just falling apart, disintegrating. Coal. Craig, I never had a problem with coal with this machine. Like up in Pennsylvania, they were talking about you're going to dig a lot of coal here.
Every once in a while, I do. It's like a bluish rock, but you can tell it was coal. But it's not a chinker. It's like with holes in it.
Right.
It's like it's more like it kind of baked or something, but it didn't really burn.
Yeah, I guess that would make a difference on it because it would kind of like make all that.
It's got more of a bluish color to it.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some of them that were, almost like a purplish blue color.
Right.
But, I've flipped plugs over, and it just all these chinks. I mean, the whole bottom of the plug was just full of chinkers,
Yeah.
And people just threw stuff like that out in their yards in the old days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really don't deal with coal down here at all.
But I've tested pieces, like if I see one in the hole, I'll run it over the coil, and most of the time they don't beep, but every once in a while I do get one.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes a weird sound, and when you pick up the speed, it starts breaking up.
Right.
Uh,
Definitely, you have
but it,
something weird. It's kind of like oh shoot, there was something else we were coming across, like hot rocks. You go over a hot rock, you know it because it just makes the weirdest beeping sound. It's not normal, and it's kind of like an elongated, almost the same as. It's a little bit different, but you always know it's like a 2 or 3 inch deep hot rock. And I was getting them in Culpeper a lot when I was there, and I got used to that sound. But then I thought about it and started moving them, just taking my shovel, and they were only like 2 inches down, so it was no real big deal about getting them out of the way, just to make sure there wasn't a target somewhere right around that general area, because it will mess with. That's why a lot of the VLFs have a problem up there with the mineralization and everything. So I was knocking them out of the way. But I never have. I don't think I've ever dug a chunk of coal that I can remember of up there or in Pennsylvania or really anywhere. I saw some laying on the ground, but the detector wasn't going off on it at all, which I've never been in that situation with other detectors. So, it's kind of, novice at it, but I have a hard time getting it to hit on coal. I guess if I put it in all metal, it probably would, wouldn't it, Craig?
I don't think so.
They won't. All right.
I've stuck the pinpointer on it. It won't make a signal. Won't make a signal at all.
Right. I was just wondering because, like, I get if you bury a Three Musketeers bar wrapper, even nowadays, in the, on the beach, at like 2 inches down, I'll hit it. I'll know it kind of is probably a wrapper because of the sound it gives off, but it's the pinpointer won't even barely even make a beep on the thing. So it's kind of neat that I'm picking it up at 2 inches with a detector, but not the pulse induction pinpointer. That kind of blows my mind.
Yeah.
But this machine will
crazy.
fry your mind when you're out there, and you've come across some settings that work really good in that area on that day, and it's like, okay, how do I reproduce this? And usually you can. I mean, it's a lot of it on the beach. It's easier because you're pretty much running a zero ground balance. But when you're in like inland areas and you're moving the ground balancing around and stuff like that for the area, then you set everything else up. It may not be compatible coming back the next time because the ground balance might, because of ground saturation, whatever, from water, it could be a little bit different also the way it gets set up. I mean, it's just, I think that's why I tell everybody not to use the presets. Don't rely on the presets all the time because, summertime they might work great, and if you're dealing with a wet season or something like that, it may not work as good. Get away from the presets and start figuring out which adjustments you need to make in those situations. If possible. Some detectors you can do this with, other ones you can't. But I think most of the modern ones you can kind of do this with, as far as the ground balance, going to a manual ground balance and that kind of thing, and setting up your discrimination. There's not very many that that I can think of, Craig. We run a 3-stage. I call it a 3-stage discrimination system on our detector, where you can your discrimination depth is pretty much just for iron itself. Then you move up to the discrimination level knob, and that's kind of picking out the size of the item, like nails and stuff. Usually anything below 3.5, that you'll pick them up. If you move it, above 3.5 to like 4, you start knocking out even square nails, but you're still getting everything else. And of course, with a discrimination toggle, that works all non-ferrous, and then to some non-ferrous, and then then you're singled out in level 1 for silver and clad and lead and copper and stuff like that. It'll pick up gradually on certain ones and be real strong on silver. So we're able to adjust, and all these things work together, so you can come up with some really precise kind of settings that really help you out. Versus having a regular staged discriminator where you don't have the finite adjustment that you could probably use. That's one of the advantages to having this machine. You can really tune this thing in good, and it's so forgiving that even if you don't get it perfect, you're still going to be doing pretty doggone good. So, Craig's done that before. I think I have too, where you're just totally off on your settings and didn't pay attention or whatever, you're still digging stuff. It's not like it's missing anything. It's just you're having to listen a lot more to the tone to pick out what you're wanting, as far as iron and stuff like that, because as you move discrimination down, it becomes more prevalent. So Oh, that was a mouthful. Kind of went deep on that topic. I get talking about this machine, man. I can get really deep on this thing and probably fry everybody's brain, but I don't want to do that. But at any rate, yeah, your sites, there's so many different situations. The good thing about it, though, Craig, a lot of videos, a lot of you guys watch the videos and stuff. You can kind of pick out ones from your area, people around, like down here, people in Florida, people whatever, see what they're doing in the sites they're hunting, and it can help you out as far as site reading and stuff. You can kind of picture where things would have been by ease of access. Of course, they'd be by a water supply, a river, a stream, what have you. Back then, I don't know, open. Of course, the noticeable ones, if you have an open well or a stone wall or a foundation blocks. I mean, that's a dead giveaway. There was a house there. I'm talking about really subtle stuff. And a lot of times, guys say, I'm just digging so much iron right here. I said, well, move 20 feet out. Are you still digging iron? But what you might have found is a house that fell over and rotted, and all that was left was the nails, kind of like cellar hole, where there's stuff there. You just got to work it a different way in order to find the stuff, to get in between the iron nails and to unmask everything. And you might need to go to a smaller coil. It might make some adjustments on your machine as far as discrimination goes, the way you're sweeping, the way you're working, gridding off, and stuff like that. You can get really as technical as you want to about it. I mean, I've always gone with the thing: if I found a bunch of stuff on a site and it's thinning out, then I change my tactics. Maybe obviously go to a bigger coil or a smaller coil or whatever. Make it different, grid it off in a different direction. Go diagonally. I have one site that I've just recently, because it got sold to somebody else and they don't want anybody on there. I haven't been able to do the plantation property in almost a year now. It's kind of really got me blue, because I think I spent, God, Craig, I hunted that thing for 4 years with the Bliss tool and about 2 years with the White Spectre V3, and I found hundreds and hundreds of coins, and it kept on giving. And as I made adjustments to my detectors, I was able to squeeze out more. And as technology got better with the Bliss tool, I was able to dig more and more. So it's the capabilities of your machine. A lot of times, it's not the site. The site's going to give you only what your detector can detect. So sometimes you need to make a change and go to a different one or a different coil or adjustments to make it accommodate the extra 2 or 3 inches down into the ground or whatever you can get out of your machine to make it different, so that you can actually get the rest of the stuff out of that site. And ours shines with that. But I mean, no site's ever hunted out altogether, not even Craig's yard, which most of us find amazing. But it's never hunted out.
No,
I go in your yard and dig bullets, buddy.
The only way it's hunted out is if you bulldoze down, 15 feet deep, and sift every bit of it.
I'm gonna come up with the biggest sifter, just front end loader and a big old sifter, and just dump it in there and sift it out.
Well, we're gonna make a sifter and start probably at some point once the weather gets better. And we've been having horrible weather. It's so cold. I went down to Alexandria today and to cut the grass at the old house, and it was flurrying. And I was watching Digger Charlie. He was doing a little video because it gotten 5 inches of snow the night before. It's up in New Hampshire. But they're going crazy because it's supposed to stop by now. And it was like he was walking down an old road, pointing out how the 50 years this colonial roadbed had been paved, and now it's deteriorating where you see the ground underneath of it, and you never realize how that's how things disappear after a while. Nature takes over.
Yeah, oh yeah, she takes over, all right. You wouldn't.
But one thing he said, you'll always be able to see these. There was rock walls, along this roadbed on both sides. So those would always probably be there for a long time. But, they're going nuts because they can't go out and hunt, and they got all these good spots and stuff, and it's like we went out the other day and it was beautiful, and then today it's like high of 42, 43, just gray sky all day long.
Yeah, you were talking about sifters, Craig, and I just some advice that I found works good. I see a lot of the guys, especially arrowhead hunters and stuff. I was watching their videos, and they have these shaker sifters where they actually shake the sifter instead of. And what I found that works good for me, and this little story that goes behind it really is the county was scraping all the edges where the blacktop ends, the curbside, I guess you would say, and they were scraping this stuff to level it to essentially bevel it down towards the ditches a little bit more where the ditch would be for water runoff, to clean it up so the water drains off better. But they were taking this stuff all the way back to Bushnell, and I got with one of the guys there. I said, "Hey, are you wanting just to get rid of that?" He goes, "Yeah, it's just pretty much fill dirt or whatever. It's not topsoil really, because it's been worked in the past." I said, "Well, hell, they brought over 4 loads of it because I just needed to fill in low spots in the yard, and then I'm going to put better dirt over top of it anyways." Well, they put it in the yard, and I said, "Well, heck, it's come from the roadside. There might be stuff in there. There might be coins. People walk all the time." And, so I built a sifter. Essentially, it was like 2 foot by 2 foot. And I put the 2x4s up on end, so the height-wise, it was like 2 inches. Or, I'm sorry, 3.25, whatever it is. It's not true 4 inches. But I took rabbit wire and then tacked it on the bottom. So you turn it over, and it's almost like the dirt says it's not flat. It's kind of like a bowl then. And I set it on top of my wheelbarrow, and I just started throwing the dirt in there, and it was dry, so it was pretty easy to do. But I just took a good leather glove. I have a welding glove that's kind of tore up from welding so much. The leather gets stiff. But I put it on my hand, and Pauline would throw, this has been a while ago, but she'd throw a couple scoops in there, and I just used my hand to run it through that screen. But wear a glove, man. I did it without a glove, not thinking. I cut my hand up pretty good because I got a piece of glass in there. But I ended up finding all kinds of pull tabs, bottle caps, pennies, dimes. Nothing great, but that was just pretty much I wanted to do that one pile just to see what was there type thing and to get all the junk out of there because I don't want that in my yard anyways. So it worked out pretty good. I ended up with about 2 5-gallon buckets full of asphalt. I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but... Yeah, you scrape the road or scrape the part of the road off, I guess, in it. But it made good fill dirt. But it's kind of neat. The stuff, you could have found anything along a roadside, country roadside. You just never know. But I get like aluminum cans and stuff. But it was just for fill dirt. But that's the way I made my sifter. That way you could set it on a wheelbarrow, sift the good dirt in there, get rid of all the junk, and you could just dump the wheelbarrow load right there by the hole or in the hole. To fill it back in. And it saves you, a little bit of time anyways. Instead of building something, have a shaker.
About 5 years ago, we went down to this old church where the Confederates had, I think it was in Dumfries, and the Confederates had camped on that area. And I think the day before or something, somebody found a South Carolina cuff and a Indian head. So we went down there, and I think I had the V3, and there were so many cans along the road that it was just banging every 5 or 6 steps. You just get all these banging signals, and so I decided. Yeah, after I dug 2 cans, I said, "You know what? I'm gonna only dig soft signals. I'm not digging any loud signals."
Right.
So I took about 10 steps, and I got this soft signal, and I dig down about 8 or 9 inches, and I pop out a beautiful South Carolina coat button with gold all over it.
Yeah, you're dealing with the modern trash on top. Yep.
Yeah, and the guy I was with was about 50 yards away, just flailing his coil, across the ground. And so I've just left my machine there, and I started walking toward him, and he looks around, and he goes, no, don't show it to me.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. Mike does that to me. Mike Miller does that to me all the time. Yes, start walking towards me. I know he found something good, and usually I found something really cool too. But his is just a little bit cooler. He's the spoiler. I should call him the spoiler. He did that to me on Saturday. So I did pretty good. I think I found 9 bullets, man. Check it out. And he's pulling out handfuls. He had 24 bullets. I'm like, oh, you really had to show me up again, didn't you, Mike? Friendly competition, I guess.
Yeah, it was like the other day with Mike and I were digging. I dug the round ball, and I left the machine by the hole, and then I start walking across the yard to where he was. And he looks around. He's got this funny look on his face when I walk up.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, "You get something good?" And I go, "I got a 69 caliber round ball, first one out of the yard." We've gotten all kinds of 3-ringers and pistol bullets and all kinds of stuff, but no round balls, except for pistol balls. And so he goes, "Wow!" He goes, and he opens his hand, and he's got this round ball in his hand. And I said, "Oh, you kidding me?" I said, "It's a little bit smaller than mine." So I pick it up, and I said, "Man, that doesn't feel like lead. It's too light." He goes, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." And I took it, and I went over to Bliss, and I said, I said, that's not,
Was
sounds like iron. So
was it a ball bearing or something, or?
We think it might be. I showed it to my friend next door, and he thinks it's, out of a shell. They actually had these round balls out of a shell.
Oh, like grape shot almost,
one,
right?
Yeah, little mini ones, and I found one a little bit smaller in the front yard, and it's perfectly round. I've never seen anything like that, and it's old. I mean, it was down. I didn't even get a signal, and I picked it up with a pinpointer because I always go around the hole after I get something out, and anything that beeps, I get everything out that beeps until there's nothing,
right?
No more beeps, and I usually get at least 1 or 2 nails, if not a handful.
Right? Yeah, me too.
But and it's funny, after I plug it up, maybe a month later, it's like the ground settles or something. All of a sudden, I get signals in that area where I've done that. But I don't know. It's I think also we had a lot of freeze this winter and everything. The ground kind of moves around a little bit.
Yeah, freezing and thawing. Stuff. Well, I mean, I've always if I see dig holes somewhere, I'm going over them because I can't tell you how many good targets I've gotten. Somebody dug a good target out of there probably or something and then walked on it. Just walked on. And, I'm finding other targets in there, and either they didn't hear them or they didn't check the hole. Either way, heck, it's just made my job. And, of course, if I find something there, I'm working out around it. I'm not staying in this. I'm going to work that area and then go on to where, until I find something else. And if it's happened to be one of their holes or that they dug before. Because ground settles, too. I mean, sometimes, and I've told guys this, especially with the Bliss tool, if you got a good signal and you're digging and you lose it, and it's not in the plug that you dug out of the ground, it's laying on edge at the bottom of this hole. You dig down 9-10 inches down and the coin lands on edge, you might get a peep out of it. It's just so deep. We can hit a dime on edge at 5.5 inches. But, 10 inches down, and usually you take another scoop out or you stick your pinpointer down there. Sure enough, it's in there. It just landed at a weird angle, come off the end of the shovel, whatever. And, I've seen guys even with any detector will do that. I mean, it'll lose it if it falls in there like that, but they'll bury the hole back up. And then once that ground settles again, it kind of makes it, it starts getting a little bit bigger of an area or, as far as the surface area, it may settle flat again. Kind of work its way down as the soil packs back down on it. And then you luck out and you go over that hole and bam, it's there again. Because you're getting a full size coin. Instead of just the edge of it. So yeah, it's always good to check the holes. I do that at hunts. I'll see dig hole, go right over it. The only thing that gets you is the guys that throw the stuff back in the hole and cover it up on purpose. I had that happen at Hunt 4. I'm digging up beer cans that somebody else already dug because they didn't want to put them in their fine bag, that kind of thing. Like, dang, just take your junk out of here, throw it by the tree or something, But
I used to be walking through the woods and there'd be, horseshoes laying on the ground by holes and
right.
All kinds of junk.
That's sight reading too, Craig, because you seeing that, they're finding something there. It's it could still be good stuff there. I mean, you're looking. I guess
amazing. some of those places, you walk through and you dig a belt buckle or breastplate or something,
Right.
in places like that every once in a while, and you go, how could they miss this? But I've watched a lot of these people that hunt that way. They're all, they're
already
going
digging
too
the next
fast.
target. In their mind, they're already digging the
they're
next target.
running. They're running all over the woods. I've been watching, some of these guys when they're swinging, even some of the guys that find a lot of stuff, and they're not overlapping. I'm not going to name any names, but some of the guys are, find a lot of stuff, and I'm sitting there watching their swings, and I'm going, man, they're not overlapping.
Right.
Sometimes they're almost a coil width that they're missing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting there going, inches as good as a mile, but when you're doing it like that, I don't know.
Well, I've heard it in a couple of the videos. I think it was Mental Detecting. I think it was him or somebody. They were using a bliss tool, or whatever, and he was just normally hunting, and you had the camera on, and I've heard him. He'd go over a target at the end of his swing, and it would go beep, and it would be I could tell over the video that it was a good signal, but he never heard it. He was already swinging back the other way. And we all do this. I mean, we've all done it at some time or another. I did it up there in Tennessee when I was hunting with Bill and Tom up there. The first time I went up there, Bill goes, man, you need to slow down. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you've been over there, over here, over this way. And I decided to sit there and think about it. I said, you're right. I've been just that ambitious to find something that I'm screwing up. And I had to be reminded of it. I was like, okay, now regroup and get out there and hunt like you know how to hunt. So we all do it. We're not perfect. Craig, I'm sure there's been... Oh, go ahead.
I've seen people, some of the best hunters break down because somebody found something really good. All of a sudden, everybody's like in a frenzy.
Oh, I know.
And they're just flying all over the place. And
I've seen guys throw metal detectors and everything.
I heard about this guy that they called the Creeper, and I never heard what his real name was.
Mm-hmm.
But he'd always be on these sites, and everybody else would be either swinging or flying all over the place. And there was this one guy that he went for big targets, so he would fly and just dig the big targets.
Right.
He'd just leave the rest go because he wanted plates.
Right.
And he got in this one area, and he found I think a breastplate or something, and he was, bragging and everything. And 3 hours later, the Creeper is still going across the field, And at the end of the day, he had two double handful of buttons, and I think he had a plate and a couple coins, and he dug more than the other 10 guys put together.
Right. Well, that's why
they were on the sidelines waiting for him because they were all tired and they were all there's nothing there, and they keep seeing this guy digging, and he was just creeping along.
You know what I do on that?
Deep signals.
I calm myself down a lot, but when I turn the discrimination down and I'm having to really listen to the machine to tell between iron and non-ferrous items, that helps me because then I can't work fast. Then I have to slow down. I have no choice. It's kind of like a reality check for me because I'll get, I had that happen in the CW, or no, it wasn't CWPP. It was digging in Virginia, Culpeper. Went to that hunt, and the first day, I couldn't find a doggone thing. I don't think, I was just having, it was a hard hit area. I was finding, I found a couple bullets or something like that. It wasn't much, but the next day I went out there and I turned that discrimination down, and I was hunting, essentially, pretty much running all metal for the most part, and I can tell by the cross pattern, east and west, north and south, crisscross and Xing off the target, whether it was going to be iron or not. And I was playing the game, pretty much could I tell what it was. And I would dig the signal. I'd call it before I dug it. And most of the time I was right because, the system works, but you're forced to slow down. You're forced to cover at a slower rate and cover more ground that way, rather than just shoot across the field in one straight line and say, oh, there's nothing there, and go on to the next field or go up totally different way. Instead of, sometimes you got to slow your step. You start getting gold fever. I mean, almost, it's like you want to find something so bad, just to find it, just to get something, and you kind of forget And, I think it's on a hard hit site that affects. I think that's why I do so well now in these sites, because I'll work slower, because a lot of the sites I have I beat to death. So I have to work slow. And it kind of carries over, like the CWPPO when I went to that. I just had that pretty much the backyard. It wasn't a very big area, but that's where we thought maybe we'd find some cannonballs and stuff. So I was really hunting the crap out of it. And I was digging some iron, some old chain and horse tack and stuff like that. But I was okay with it. I wasn't digging very many nails. I could tell those. But I felt pretty good because nobody else got anything out of there after me. They'd all hunted it, and I think the most they got was a washer, metal washer, stuff like that. I don't think anybody else got anything of substance in that small area. So it helps to slow down. I've seen guys get so frustrated they throw their detectors. I mean, I know, Craig, we saw that up at the DIPA hunt. You throw your detector and you expect it to work right. It's not the detector, it's you. I mean, most of this in metal detecting, yeah, you have to have a decent metal detector, but really it comes down to you. If you're swinging a foot off the ground and you're swinging wild and you're walking too fast, you're going to miss stuff. And we've all done it. You can't blame the metal detector. It's, for everything, because you're operating it. So, like my wife says, blame the idiot behind the detector. I said, yeah, I know. So, because she's got, she catches it too. We go to the beach and stuff. She goes, they're not swinging right. I said, nope, they're not swinging right. She goes, you're going to go over there, aren't you? I said, heck yeah, because if they dug a couple holes, that means they did find something. So I'm going to work right behind them, 100 yards behind them, and I just work, but they're not going to come back that same path anyways. So I've gotten yelled at about it a couple times or pestered about it. I said, dude, you're going to walk up the beach and you're going to walk down a different path anyway, so what's a big deal? At least we're finding this stuff, But then I told him he can hunt.
I remember we were at the Pennsylvania hunt. There's this kid over there by the wall. We were hunting like near around the front yard, I think the second day or something. Mm-hmm. And this kid comes up to his father, and he's all frustrated. He goes, Dad, I need a better detector. This thing sucks.
I remember that.
Because I can't find anything. And so I walked over and I said, hey, I got a really good detector that can pick up stuff really deep. And I said, nobody's finding anything.
Yeah, it was tough.
I said the one Larson I got was like 14 inches deep, slightly on edge.
Yeah.
I got a flat button, a small flat button. It wasn't a cuff, but it was not a dandy or anything, but it was, probably the size of a nickel. I dug that one that was at least 12 inches deep.
Yeah,
and
deep stuff.
Dug what?
I dug a King George. King George at 14.
Yeah.
Oh, that dandy button was a good 15 inches down. It was a pain in the butt getting that out of the ground. That ground is hard up there. And then I got a toy wheel from a pull-behind toy, Colonial pull-behind toy. That was right at the 12-inch mark, too, man. It was right where everybody was hunting, too. I mean, I dug that old pocket knife, too. It was really old pocket knife, and it was copper on the handle. And that was really deep. But everybody had hunted through there. It's just I was listening I turned that discrimination down. I'm listening for the whisper tones. And bam, I'm getting stuff. And I dug like 13 or 14 45 rounds, regular modern day. And that's why a lot of the guys left that area. They were just, I don't know, it was like a target range right there. Excuse me. They were just getting those and they were discriminating them out. So I had to dig 13 or 14 bullets in order to get the King George, but heck, I'll do that every day of the week, just to not sacrifice that depth or that target separation, to be able to get down deep and still know what you're digging. So yeah, you got to slow down. I remember the one guy that he couldn't find anything, and his wife went over there and metal detected the same spot, and she ended up digging an India head. Man, he was mad. I was like, man, your wife got it. What the heck? What does it matter? Somebody found something. But he wasn't having none of that. And we're not going to name names. I was like, man, and my wife told me, Pauline told me, she goes, if you ever do that to me, I will wrap that metal detector around your head. I said, yeah, I have no doubt you will. And I'll be lucky if I don't get the shovel, up beside the head. So, because she hunts totally different than me. Everybody hunts a little bit different, but she has luck the way she does it. I don't know. And I've seen, Craig, you told me the story about the guy that would hunt with the detector with the coil turned up on end. And he would find stuff. It's Hey, whatever works
But he
for you.
was
I don't care if
psychic.
you, huh?
He was psychic.
Psychic or doing
Yeah,
some kind of weird drug or something. I don't know, but it worked for him. He
well,
found stuff.
he was a Delta blues guitarist and singer.
Hmm.
Uh, Traveled all over the world, Europe and everything, and he was totally illiterate, couldn't read or write, and nicest guy you ever met.
Yeah.
But the only black relic hunter I seen for years, and
Hmm.
up here there's a lot more of black people that metal detect, and
That's good though. I mean,
uh,
it's and there's a lot more women and kids metal detecting now than there ever has been. I mean, it used to be
oh yeah.
primarily just us middle-aged
Well, one
guys,
thing
I guess.
some of the guys that I talked to, the fathers said that they took out their sons, and
Right.
hunted. And this one guy said, he goes, man, the first target, my son thinks a Confederate belt buckle and didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Didn't know that it was, Confederate. And he said, I was dying, and he goes, and I finally, you get this signal and I see this, plate in the hole. And I flip it over and it's a damn Yankee plate.
Ah. Well, Cody did that. Josh Buckwater's son, Cody, went to that CWPPO, and his first hunt he ever went on, the first time he'd been out metal detecting by himself with his own detector, and digs a large scent. And I think it was the only large scent dug right there. That was pretty cool. It's nice to see people find stuff. And
And the other funny thing was you have to turn everything in.
oh
And
yeah,
he ended up giving the coin back to him. And it was really cool. He had the biggest smile on his face when he realized he was going to get the coin back.
Well, you saw the responsibility in the kid too. Josh, he raised that kid right. I mean, because
Yeah,
he knew he had to give it up, and he kept a stiff upper lip, and he was, But when they told him he could have it, he's like his face lit up. I put it on video. It's on video. I got it put up there. But the kid was just very humble. Yeah, it was nice to see, because he knew the score. I mean, even though he's younger, his dad told him, "Hey, we find something, we got to turn it in," and he did it. So I was proud of him. Because he didn't have to be told nothing. He knew the right way to do it. So, it's nice to see that. But even you get these gut feelings, guys. These newer people. If you get a gut feeling to start detecting somewhere, no matter how strange it may seem, try it. I mean, I went to sit at a park, Craig. This happened years ago, and I said, well, I've already dug this area over here and detected it, and I'm going to go over by that dumpster. You think about a dumpster that's been sitting there always in the same spot for the last 20 years. How many bottle caps and pull tabs and everything else got thrown and missed the dumpster lid and it landed on the ground right there. I was 2 foot away from the dumpster and dig I think it was a 10-karat gold women's ring right there. She apparently, they went to throw the garbage in and the ring flew off and ended up on the ground right there. But yeah, I was like, of course I didn't get another one there. I got all kinds of pull tabs and stuff, but it was still cool to dig the first target within 2 foot of the dumpster and be a ring, but it happens, anywhere, volleyball courts, all that kind of stuff, baseball fields, soccer fields seem to be great for jewelry. I mean, I see a lot of these guys up north, they find chains, they find, little medallions, this and that and the other thing. They seem like they're just tearing it up on those soccer fields. They put a soccer fields in over here in Bushnell. They haven't been in but for about 10 years. I probably should go through there and just listen for the shallow targets, and because ours will double or triple beat up on something like an inch down. Just look for the jewelry on the top. I guess I should try that with that 15-inch coil, just cover ground. I won't even take a shovel with me. I'll just take a probe, pretty much get them out of the ground right there. But yeah, they just took another spot that I would always hunt. It's gone. They dug the dirt out of there and everything. And I was like, Pauline goes, "What's wrong?" I drove by. I said, "Can you believe they're tearing up another spot?" She goes, "You used to hunt there?" I said, "Yeah." Not anymore. I mean, they literally dug all the dirt out of there and brought in fill dirt, and that's sad. I hate that. That's like the worst feeling in the world when you lost a spot forever. I guess I'm into this way too much or something, but Craig, I know it happened to you big time up there in Alexandria. You were showing me all the spots. Next time you come here, it'll be apartments.
All the way down to Fredericksburg.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
From Alexandria south, going south. It's just anything along the river. all the colonial, most of concentration of the colonial stuff was down in Woodbridge, and probably Woodbridge was the best area for old colonial house sites. Didn't have as much Civil War stuff, but then when you went down to Dumfries, it had both. And there was a port down there. That was the first port in 17. I think it closed in 1767 because it silted up, and then Alexandria became the big port. But there was tracts of land that just went forever, just all woods mostly. Maybe a power line running through it.
Right.
And just for 30, 40, 50 miles almost. And then they started building into Stafford mostly, and then around 2000 they started in Woodbridge, and that one site we hunted for about 4 years. It was just incredible. Indian artifacts, colonial, Confederate, a lot of Confederate stuff on both sides of the road, Georgia and Texas and South Carolina. And, you just never knew what you were going to find over those areas.
Yeah, I did.
But they're all gone. They're all, the one place they had, I think it was 5,400 townhomes. I actually talked to the superintendent one time and I said, "How many homes are they going to put in here?" And he said, "As many as they can jam together."
Yeah, they do it down here, Craig. It's incredible the amount of homes they put these out. Oh yeah, we're putting another 1,000 homes in, and they're all ranging from 250 to 500,000 or more. I'm like, and they're all like cookie cutters. I'm like, dude, who wants to live like that? I mean, and spend that kind of money for a house that you have this little micro yard and you have to put up with, not all neighbors are a pain, but usually this is the first time I've ever lived in a neighborhood where I don't really hate anybody. I like everybody, and I wave at them, we wave at each other, we talk to each other. It's really cool, but I've lived in, these so-called additions, and I couldn't stand it. It was just like you can't even walk out your front door without somebody saying, knowing what you're doing. There's no privacy at all, but people, I don't know, my mom lives in one, and she likes it. I can't. I tell her, she goes, "Well, do you want the, house, whenever, when she goes?" I said, "I don't sell it, sell it now and make your money and spend it, because I don't want the house." I wouldn't know what to do.
I know
with
a lot of young people, they don't want to do any yard work.
Right. Yeah. It's a lot of work.
They like that lifestyle, and I don't know, they like the crowded areas where all the restaurants and stuff are.
Yeah.
And I can see that, when you're young.
Well, it's like Bethany and Kai live in oh God, what is it called, Craig? Ruston. Yeah, it's the fastest growing city in the country right now or something. They love it. Up until she told me the other day, she goes, "This traffic sucks, Dad. It really does. And these people don't know how to drive." I said, "Hallelujah." She finally figured it out why I was complaining so many years when we lived in Zephyr Hills and Tampa and, all these towns that the traffic drove me crazy. But now she's seeing it. So a year or two later, she's like, "I think I want to move to Colorado out in the mountains." I said, "That sounds good. Invite me out when I retire, right?" So, yeah, my idea.
We used to go out to Reston when I was a kid. Well, I was like maybe early 20s. And there was a big reservoir out there, and this guy was on my track team. Said, "Hey, you ought to see this place, man." It's like, we went out there one time, and there was like 300 or 400 people there, and the reservoir was like 150 feet deep. And then out in the middle, about a half a mile, was a big tower that came up, and you could get up on it, and they put a makeshift platform that even went up higher, so you could jump from about 30 or 40 feet. And so people would do dives and all kinds of stuff on that. And but the police would come. You're not supposed to be there, this dirt road that went through the woods to this thing. There'd be cars parked on both sides of the road, all up and down this whole area. And gotta leave. Everybody jump in the water and start swimming out towards that tower and stick it out.
Yeah, I got it.
And they go, we're gonna tow your cars, And I go, "Yeah, you're gonna tow 400 cars."
Yeah. Hey, Craig. I got to say something here real quick. Hold that thought. Don't change it. But Mr. Suvio Sakar, or however you say your name, sir, I'm going to go ahead and delete your message now because Well, I don't allow that on my chat lines. So I'm going to delete the message now. Please don't put it back up. We're not going to have that kind of thing on the radio show. Don't like telemarketers and don't like people that do that. So I'll block you if you do it again. So go ahead, Craig. Sorry. Had to take care of that.
All right. Yeah.
You're not going to
That's right.
telemarket my butt on my own
Happening,
show.
isn't it?
Yeah, you're not going to do that on my show. It took me a minute to figure it out because I had to read the stupid thing. But at any rate, yeah, we just... A virtual machine that call. All right, Jared says, "Call me Mr. Survio. I'll have a virtual machine and call you Linux. Let's play." Yeah, there you go, Jared. I just can't. I can't stomach them, guys. I just will boot them off in a heartbeat. That's the first time we've had it happen in a long time, but caught me a little.
Yeah.
I was trying to make sure I wasn't erasing a story. You know, what I mean, he was trying to tell somebody something. Bob, I know I'm a big meanie. I'm really prejudiced against telemarketers and that kind of thing. So, I don't discriminate, Craig. I don't discriminate. I hate them all equally. You know, so that's not discrimination.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like, there's a lot of, this going on in Facebook, like crazy.
God, it's horrible.
Spam, and it's gotten so where a lot of administrators of these sites will, you do it once, you're gone. That's no second chance.
I've been booting guys off, guys.
Crap.
Well, they're saying like my friends are sending them to me. A friend request type thing.
Yeah.
And I know that's not right because I know you're not going to send that crap to me. And I know that like Dave Ettinger or whoever, they're starting to use our names to do this. And I've been just deleting. Well, when you have a lot of whatever likes or whatever that people are following you, man, I tell you, and now they're starting to say, well, the one that's sending you it, the BS Facebook messages, now they're saying, oh, here's my friend wants to be your friend too, or something like that. It's like, God. So I spend 10 minutes, marking them as spam and then hoping that I'm not deleting somebody off that's legitimately likes metal detecting. It's like,
if they don't have a profile picture, if they don't have photos and other things on their site, there's another one. It'll have a girl, but it'll have a man's name,
right,
or sort of like a man's name.
His profile instead of her profile. Yeah,
it'll say his profile. That now they're doing these things where there's a page, some sex chat page on. Right. I don't know how Facebook's allowing that, but it's not surprising, I guess. But
it frustrates me because.
But anyway, then they have invite you to see this page, and what I'm doing is I'm going back and finding that guy and then I delete him, unfriend him.
Yeah.
So it can't happen, but it's
well, now they're using
that's a new scam that's starting to happen. People are always trying to game the system, and Facebook does a half-assed job of getting rid of it, but eventually they get rid of one thing and then something else pops up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they it's just, even with telemarketing, they call on my cell phone and stuff. I'm at the bar or something, I'll pick it up and I say, just another damn telemarketer. You always can tell because it has a bloop or a beep or whatever in it and a recording. And I'll throw it on the bar or leave the phone on. And my friends will sit there, what are you doing? I said, well, they just wasted a minute of my time. I'm going to waste a minute of theirs. That's my theory. And you'll hear somebody come on, hello, hello. I said, isn't that funny? Do you guys hear voices? They get them all laughing, but really, I mean, if you do that 5 times a day or whatever, it's like, yeah. And you have to answer the phone. I mean, with us, because it'll say like a Michigan call or a California call. And I think, okay, it's somebody wanting to know about the Bliss tool or whatever, because that's sometimes all that comes up on my caller ID. So, of course, I'm going to answer it. And it's like, I have to. I can't just let it go. I had to happen once where I let it go because I thought it was a telemarketer. It turned out to be a friend of mine in California that got a different cell phone. So I felt kind of bad about that. But it is when it goes on with the emails and the, just like tonight with him posting it up on here. I mean, did he really think I wasn't going to boot him off there?
They ring or do a half ring or a ring, one ring, and hang up, and then you're curious about, maybe somebody made,
I always want to tell them, why don't you give me your look? Where's your business located? I'll come down there and we'll talk. I always want to say that.
I Google their number, and then it always comes up, some kind of phone scam.
Yeah.
But,
It's ridiculous. And
There'll be a whole page on it for all these people saying, I'll get this call, it keeps hanging up. I finally found out, it's some kind of telemarketer,
How do you?
That's how they get around it, because they didn't really call you because you never, you didn't pick up, so that's not really a call. So
right. I got a question though.
And they hope to.
On the Facebook ones, when they message you, okay, I get these ones on my phone. I'll pick it up and it'll say, okay, like Craig left the conversation, or and Bill left the conversation. How do you leave a conversation when you're in it? Somehow got in it, like they messaged, they private messaged everybody or something. Is there a certain button you hit? Because I don't know if I just dump it.
I think there is. I can't remember. I think it's up toward the right or something.
All right, I'll have to figure that out, because I've been trying to leave some of these
It
conversations.
might be in the settings or something too. I can't remember. I've had a couple of those where I was like, I didn't even think I was in this, supposed talk, but some of these new sites, when they first start out, they get like everybody on the message at the same time or something. I don't know if they can still do that or not, but
right. Jaron, he didn't call. He didn't call in. It was on the chat, like this page-long BS about Dubai and all this other stuff. Right? Yeah. So that he didn't call in. Believe me, I would have given him an earful. But go ahead, Craig. Sorry. That's one of my pet peeves, man. God, I can't stand him.
It was from Dubai.
I think it was. I don't know. It was some kind of scam. Just wanting him to want people to message them and this and that if they're interested. And I don't know. It gets to the point, and I know it's not the phone's fault, but I just could take a ball-peen hammer and smash it. But really, I'm just hurting myself then. But I want a dumb phone. I don't want a smartphone anymore. But unfortunately, I can't get my emails and stuff, so it kind of limits me. I have to have the stupid thing, because I did for years.
Yeah,
Bethany and Pauline got on my case for years about. I just had the flip phone where you had to actually, when to text, you had to hit the button so many times and everything to get the right letter. I mean, but looking back on it, boy, that was a hell of a lot simpler for me. I didn't have, if you called me, great, we talked. If you didn't, whatever. If you text me, I'd call you back, because I didn't feel like texting on that kind of, it was a pain in the butt. But I didn't have all this kind of pop-up stuff and everything going on. And it's just happening more and more to everyone. I complain about it a lot more. So, but, even everything's updating too, Craig. If you noticed, like even Netflix, Hulu, even on my computer, sometimes they want you to reset all the time. And my phone's doing it too. It's saying SIMS card can't be located, but it's in there. Pauline started doing it. All of our phones are doing that. It's like they're having problems with the updates.
I've been getting something weird on my iPad Pro that says no internet connection, and yet there is.
Right. That's got me worried about why is it doing that? I mean, it's never done it in the past, and all of a sudden in the last month or so, because Pauline's was doing it, I was thinking, okay, we have the same phone, same kind of phone. And I'm like, well, maybe there's something going wrong with your phone. We've had them for about a year and a half, and and then mine started doing it, and hers stopped. And it's like, oh, what are they tracking us somehow? Or are they bouncing something in there?
Of course they are.
Well, I know that. I live a boring life. There's no sense in following me. You're going to end up in the middle of the woods somewhere. Wait a minute.
Doesn't matter.
Follow me out to the middle of the woods, please. So, we'll take care of business, but yeah, they follow you everywhere, but our TV is doing that, and we have the Amazon Fire Stick, and it's like the system's not restarting, it's the apps. And I don't know whether because they just changed everything. Apple did, and with Windows 10 they had some problems with, and it was, they're having to do fixes or whatever, updates. Mm-hmm. That might be what it is too. It just seems like a lot of it's going on in the last 2 to 3 months.
You got to keep up with the updates.
Yeah.
That's important. A lot of people, I don't want this update. I don't want to change operating systems. Like every time they do, it's different. Something different. You got to deal with it. You got to,
Don't update.
Well, in certain things like Skype, you don't update.
Yeah, do not update your Skype accounts, guys. I'm telling you, if you're doing any kind of conference calls or anything like that, when you update, it wants you to pay for that service that you're already getting for free now under this format. And we're already paying. Well, I pay for, of course, the phone number. It's not that much. It's like $14 every 3 months or something like that. It's not bad. But when you can't take multiple calls, it kind of defeats the purpose of me having a call-in number, because then I can only get Craig. We've had that happen twice. Once because I did update. The other time is because my computer decided it was going to update anyways, and that I made sure that was never going to happen again, because it took me. You have to actually download a previous version and go through all this rigmarole. But that was what was going on with Skype. So I always tell people, don't update your Skype unless you just don't care about that feature. Then you can. It's not going to affect, like if you're going to call your grandkids or your kids or whatever, you'll still be able to do that, or video chat with them or whatever. Some of these you don't want to, but majority, anything to do with your operating system, regular operating system on your computer, I would say update it, because it's also putting the security stuff in there too. So, it helps block a lot of the BS. I don't have problems with our, the Apple, the Macs. Craig, I don't know. I haven't had any problem at all with viruses or anything like that. My PC, well, the Alien has really good protection on it, but like my other PCs, I was constantly getting garbage that kind of get through the firewall somehow. It was a lot more annoying.
The worst thing I had on my MacBook Pro, and I've had it for since 2014, I think. And I had a thing a few months ago where it just locked into Finder, and I couldn't get it out of Finder. Couldn't force it. Couldn't force quit. I tried. There's probably 3 or 4 different ways you can do it.
Right.
Tried every one of them. I could get to some of the menu, but I couldn't get to anything that would, I couldn't get to I couldn't get Safari to open at all.
That's weird.
It was crazy. I could get email to come up. That was about it. But no Safari at all.
The only problem me and Craig were having mutually was when we did the major update on the Safari, is both of us, I was actually on the phone with Craig when I was doing mine, and it froze up. It wouldn't restart. And Craig said, I did it to me too, just hard shut down, and it'll come back and it'll initialize. And I never had to do that. We had to do that, 4 or 5 times that month, where it wouldn't restart itself. You had to actually hard shut down the computer to make it initialize. It was weird.
You can do it soft and a hard boot,
Yeah.
If there's any problems, do a hard boot.
Yeah.
But there's a couple different other things you can do, like pull out the cord as, holding down the power button and different things like that. But
have you had a problem on your iPad?
But anyway,
good.
I actually sent a message through the help on the computer.
Right.
And they sent me an email back, you need help? And I said, yes, it's locked up on Finder. And so the next day I went to bed. Next day I turned, next morning I turned on the computer, and it's working. It just pops right up onto Safari. I was like, oh my God, that's great.
Yeah.
So Apple, it actually worked on the machine during the night when I wasn't, and fixed it, remotely somehow. But it's incredible. And this is an older, this isn't the Retina. This is the one with the optic drive in it from a long time ago. But
I actually had one guy.
Yeah, on the iPad, I've had a couple times where something locks up on the screen, and you just do the same thing. You hold the power button and the home button in. I've fixed so many people's iPhones, even young kids that should know this, college kids even. I used to teach these, or I have these kids working at the camp, as instructors, and one of them, my phone's locked. I go, give it to me, and I'd hand it back to him, and the little Apple logo will be up. And I said, as soon as the Apple logo goes away, it'll be up. And they go, oh my God, it came back up. It's been locked all day.
Right.
And I said, you didn't know about that? Just hold both buttons in.
I wonder have you ever heard of anybody having problems with, I know that the Deus can do it, where you do updates from your PC or laptop or whatever. You can
Yeah,
update
you
the
have to
system.
do it on a PC.
Has anybody ever had any problems with doing that? I mean, like getting a virus in your metal detector. I mean, it's probably possible, isn't it? Because
I
you're.
don't think so. It's just a program, and it's not hooked to the
Oh, okay,
internet or anything. So
okay,
it's not it's not going to be, nobody's going to attach something to it. I
that's
don't think they
true.
can really do that.
Okay,
But
yeah, I wasn't sure.
the only things that I've seen, they've had glitches with some people didn't have the machine charged all the way up, or they had to run it again. Maybe sometimes it took 2 or 3 times to get the thing to stick. But when they went to, like, I think it's 4.1 now, that seems to be stabilized completely, and it's working great. So I don't think they're having any problems anymore.
Yeah, they're talking about on here.
But
They get the calls about the car warranties and the credit card debt ones, and these phone
yeah,
calls, and guys don't fall for, because they actually sent me an email, and we were on vacation, and it says your car's, the way it sounded was like somebody stole our car that we were actually driving at the time, truck actually, and made it sound like somebody had stole it, that we should have our insurance looked at to be able to cover this. And I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? So I called the number on there, and they were trying to do the car insurance. We saw on here where your car insurance is lapsed, and it was actually for the car itself. The warranties for the car, like
yeah.
10-year warranty or whatever. I said, dude, I haven't even I never had one on this vehicle. Well, we're showing that you need this and this, and I said, oh yeah. And he goes, it's only $800 a year. And I'm like, really? That's what they're trying to get you to do, is buy stuff. And the same with the other one on here with the credit cards. I'm like Jaron. I have one credit card and I never use it hardly. Just because emergencies. But I don't have a problem with credit card debt. I don't have a problem with they try to get you in on this stuff, especially like taxes. Believe me, if the IRS wants you, they're going to come and knock on your door or send you a registered letter. They're going to get a hold of you the real way, not just some phone call from some foreigner that you know. Hello, my name is Robert, and he sounds like Achmed.
Yeah, I changed something on my insurance, for when I sent the tax thing in,
Right.
and I had to. They sent me this form like I was, in big trouble. Found out it was because of a $10 difference.
Right.
I was like, God.
Another one.
Fill out like 2 or 3 forms. I was a nervous wreck. What the hell did I do? $10. Oh, big deal. Why didn't they tell me that? It was just $10.
Right. Well, like Bethany would come down through the side roads down here. This is Inchachata Road. It's the windiest son of a gun. It's slow. It's like 35-mile-an-hour road, and it goes for 13 miles up to Floral City. And Bethany was up there. This was before she left for up there in Virginia, coming down through, and she was speeding. She was doing 35 in a 20. It's a little town. Anyways, it's like nothing there. But anyways, they pulled her over, which they got her, and they asked her for her insurance card and registration and everything. And don't let these insurance companies fool you into thinking that, oh yeah, you don't need to carry a copy of your insurance in your car because you can get it on your smartphone just by going to whatever Progressive or whoever you have, and you'll be able to show the officer, there is my insurance. I'm up to date. Don't fall for that, because Bethany got pulled over, and of course she didn't have any cell phone area or cell phone signal. So, and she didn't have a copy of it in there because she knew best. I told her to carry a copy, but she didn't listen to me. But I didn't know it was for this situation. But the cop actually wrote her up for not having insurance, and it ended up being like a $400 dang ticket, between all of them. And we went up to the license branch. Of course, she was pissed. I mean, I could understand. I had to go and get her, and I actually drove the truck over. Her mom got out and drove her car because they were going to impound her car too, even though sure her license was good and everything. But if somebody else drove that had insurance on their vehicle, full coverage insurance, they could drive the car home. So I told Pauline, I pulled up and I said, you deal with this cop because I can't do it. And I said, this is kind of wrong, because it's like if she had a record or any other, she'd never had a ticket in her life or nothing like that. And Pauline went over to talk to him. He goes, well, I already wrote the ticket out. And that was his excuse. So we went up there and up to the license branch, and there was 27 other people that had gotten tickets that in that area over that, that period of time, and they were all ticked off about it. Don't trust these cell phones when it comes to your information for your car, unless you're going to take a photo of it. Then maybe you can get away with that. Just carry a hard copy. Save yourself some headache, because it seems like a dang loophole that they're just making money on now. I'm sure they're doing it other places too. This is down here in Florida. But essentially what had happened, she had switched insurance companies at some point, and your insurance company's supposed to run a check. When they run you to see if they're going to cover you or not. The old insurance company turned her in as not having insurance, even though she did through another company. So that's what the cop was going by. So I couldn't be really ticked at him, but still, all he had to do was just give her a few minutes to try to find some signal to get it. But just a piece of friendly advice: carry hard copies in your glove compartment, like we usually for years. That way, there's no excuse, and they can't say you don't have your information, and take your car and everything else. So, got off on a tangent, Craig, but that just brought back that memory. That child was so ticked off about that, and I was too, because I had to haul her around for the next week. So. They'll do anything nowadays. They make their money one way or another. So,
yeah. Well, it's like the old city I was in, Alexandria. The only thing they got to make money is taxes.
Yep.
That's it. No land, nothing else.
Right.
And they try to keep bringing in businesses and all these restaurants just keep failing.
Can't afford it. Can't afford it.
They can't make a buck with the high rent.
Yep.
I mean, and the taxes.
And so you start paying $20 for a hamburger. It gets crazy.
I mean, my property here, my house is like about 3/4 the size of the house in Alexandria, but that one we put addition on, and I don't have a huge garage, like I did down there. But I got 8/10 of an acre, and I had like a lot and a half down there. That was, a small lot. You saw it.
Right.
That's about like the whole yard. That whole yard is like my side yard. That doesn't even extend into the backyard at all.
Right.
But anyway, I was paying, I think it was like $10,000 a year in taxes there. And it kept going up. I think it went up another $800 or $900. My brother said this year.
Right.
And it's that's all they got. I mean, here I pay. I think it's like $500 or $600 a year.
Right.
For I mean, it's crazy.
Yep. Oh,
everything's cheaper up here. It's the gas prices are cheaper, a little bit cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Probably still higher than they should be, but.
Yeah, I mean, you get this. People will do some crooked things sometimes, and not everybody, but just, man, it seems like I run into them all the time. I got a couple guys that try to pay with money orders, and I got a real thing with money orders unless I know the person that's sending them. Bill sent them to me before, and a few other guys, and I don't have a problem with those, but a couple of them you got to watch. If you don't know the person, they'll make copies of a money order, send it to you, or they've already been spent. That kind of thing. That's happened once or twice. And I just tell them, I said, until it clears, I'm not sending a machine. Can't do it, because, unless I know the person, obviously. But, that'll happen a lot. I've heard a lot of people having problems with that. They buy something for $300 from somebody, and they send them a bad.
I'm not taking any.
No.
I'm just plain not going to take a money order.
Yeah, well, the nice thing about it is I do have one guy that always pays me in money orders for, like, apparel and stuff like that, and he sends me a money order, but it's from a post office money order. And I just take it to the post office.
That's totally different.
Yeah, they cash it. I mean, they'll tell you right off the bat if it's good or not. I mean, they'll pay you or they won't, So that's easy enough to do there. But some of these money order places, I don't know. Usually they're good. I mean, but just unless you have somebody crooked doing it, they just work every angle, it seems like. But we got kind of off on a tangent. But I guess everything kind of fit together a little bit when we start going off on our little path, so to speak. God, and there's some stuff about settings. There's just so much to talk about usually, with everything going on. It's happening so fast, like the lady that, shot up Google and everything you were talking about the last show and everything. And, I started
YouTube,
reading up on, YouTube, whatever it was. Yeah. I mean, just crazy stuff going on. There's good stuff too, just.
You know, I read a couple articles today about it, and if you look at the mainstream media and what the tech people are saying, she's a nut, and they didn't do anything wrong. But then you go on and you see all these YouTubers, and some of them are making six figures and up. I mean, there's guys that are making 12, 15 million a year.
Yeah.
And they're saying, this is a business. This is our business. This is our job. This is our career.
Right.
We spend a lot of time building this channel, and then you're screwing us, and you're not telling us anything.
Right.
And that's what happened to this woman.
Yep.
They would not tell her. They were taking videos down. She was doing them in 3 different languages.
I could see why she got so ticked off.
You can't condone it. You still can't condone
No.
somebody going shooting people and stuff. It's one thing to shoot yourself, but to shoot other people, that's a different story.
Well, I could see where she was so mad because it gets to you.
People are highly pissed off. I mean, I've seen all kinds of videos. This has been happening since last March. This is when they had that ad apocalypse, and then they had 3 or 4 things in between that made and each time it's making it worse.
Right.
They ruined the app on the Apple TV, and then I went and saw these articles where these polling places they went through thousands of comments trying to get one positive comment. There wasn't a single positive comment about the new app. It was nothing but trash.
Right. I mean, I've always had a theory, Craig.
About 2 months later, they fixed it. So you don't have to.
Right.
Scroll one subscriber at a time, and then you got 1,000 subscribers, and the one you're looking for is toward the end.
Right. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. And they fixed that. But what they're doing is they're trying to get you to do a subscription for Google TV or YouTube TV or
right.
Google Music. Where you pay a subscription rate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what. Everybody's going to start to stream. They just came out with an ESPN Plus app for $4.99 a month, and it doesn't sound like much really.
Right.
But who knows that and a lot of the critics are saying, I don't know if this is going to work or not. But it's like a degraded ESPN.
Right.
And this is their first thing they're going to do. Disney's coming out with their own app for just.
They're going to app themselves. They're going to app themselves to death. That's what they're trying to make everybody do.
Disney is not going to let, once they come out with their app, then they're not going to let Netflix have any of the Marvel stuff.
Right.
And so I'm ready to dump Netflix. I'm just to the point where I don't even watch it. I can't find anything that great. It's like all B movies. It seems
right.
Like.
There's a few gold shows and stuff I watch on there and stuff, but I mean, really, we've kind of gone over to Hulu a little bit more, but we don't mind watching the old series. I mean, I like, we've rewatched a lot of them just because we like the series. Even if it's, Star Trek or something, it doesn't matter because we just want to sit down, relax, and just kind of watch something and not have a bunch of drama or anything with it. That's the biggest thing. But, you were talking about how some of these people are. Well, this, as far as the way they feel or what they do. And then, for years I always had this theory: don't mess with my family or my friends, don't mess with my money, and don't mess with my time. Those are important. Family first, and time and the money you make, and that's what they're doing. They're messing with a lot of people, and some of these people, I can see where they're. I mean, like you said, I don't condone what she did and what some of these people do, but you can see where they go over the deep end. I mean, you get into such a frustration that you're watching essentially what you're doing for a living go. Yeah, I'd be fighting mad too, and
I mean, there was YouTubers that were making tens of thousands
right.
of dollars a month, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a month,
which is hard to do.
Suddenly
I mean, I don't even know how they do it, but they do it.
All of a sudden, they're making hundreds of dollars a month,
right?
And they expected to be making this money, pretty much, for years. I mean, as long as they kept up their content.
Right, they're doing the right things and their everything. So.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, they get screwed, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, 98% of the creators are screwed.
Right. It's just a bad deal.
You have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's the killer. 4,000 hours
right.
of viewing time a year, which I have 6,500 over something like 6 years or 5 years.
Yeah, we never even shot for that though, Craig. I mean, really, because I like the subscribers and stuff. I mean, just yeah, if you have them, that's great. You know, if you don't, I don't. It just seems like it's screwing people.
It just discourages everybody.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of people that are just, they're
frustrated.
Going, I was getting to the point where I was going to just start getting money and stuff. All of a sudden, I'm screwed. Yep. Now I can't.
Now I can't do this or I can't do that. Right. Now you got to figure out another way to get, to do what you were doing.
I'm like 92 subscribers away from 1,000, but I'll eventually reach 1,000. But the 4,000 hours a year, that's I don't see myself doing that unless I get about 4, 5, or 6,000.
That's a lot of hours, man. I mean, it's even with our radio
subscribers,
show. Like with our radio show, I think we're up to. I want to say it's 37,000. I think it's 27,000 hours listened to, as far as our show goes. That's a lot. I mean, I don't know what everybody else is doing. I think that's pretty cool for us, anyways. I mean, I'm glad y'all like the show and you listen to the show and you download it and everything else and you follow us. And the only thing I ever do is there's like about 12 different Facebook pages I posted up on just that we're having a show or whatever, but. That's about all we do as far as like any kind of advertising or anything. But, we don't get any money from that. But, I mean, it's hard to get that many people to consistently listen to you. So you have to be, these people making these videos are obviously people like them. So they have a niche. They have the thing they do that people like that they can make money on. God bless them. That's a good thing. But when somebody that's controlling you and your content essentially, that I don't know. It's just wrong. They shouldn't be doing it. If they have a problem with the way that there's so many people on YouTube or whatever, they need to figure out how to separate it out better than that. Well, of course, they're not going to because they're not going to make money at it if they do that. But it all comes down to money. But Craig, buddy, I kind of want to wrap this thing up for tonight. My wife just walked in the door, and she looked pretty hungry, so I might have to cook her dinner. If I don't, I might be in a doghouse for the rest of the weekend. I don't want to be in a doghouse. My wife's tough. You guys know her. But at any rate, yeah, it's almost 10 o'clock anyway, so we're doing. Yeah. I don't want to keep everybody up that late. So, but I did want to thank Bill and Jaron, and I saw a lot of you guys on here tonight trying to pan down here through here. Thanks for listening, tuning in tonight as always, and. We'll kind of talk to you guys on Thursday nights and Saturday nights at 8 p.m. That's when we're Eastern time, of course, and we always have different topics. So you can like and follow us on there. Tell a friend about us because, we don't really advertise, so it's coming from you guys. If you like our show, pass it on. So listen to the other shows on Spreaker, too, that, there's a lot of different metal detecting shows. Really, there's every kind of show you can pretty much think of on Spreaker. They have a wide variety, so there's always something for you to listen to or download and listen on the way to work or something like that. So we appreciate you listening and everything, and we look forward to having you on the show again next Thursday, I guess, is the next show. I'm losing track of the days, Craig. I'm losing my mind. But at any rate, we'll catch y'all later. If you can get out there and do some metal detecting, find something good and post it up or tell us about it in the next show. Till next time, guys, get out there, keep digging, and God bless. All right, buddy. I think no, not yet.
All right.